Hi guys, it's Chenmi. Welcome back to another video. Today I actually want to talk about Japan and my trip to Japan. Now you may wonder, Chenmi, why is it that you're talking about Japan right now, more than a year after you actually went there? Well, I could now make up excuses, but I think I just couldn't really fathom the words that I wanted to say in this video, and I was lazy and I didn't get to it. So today I'm here and I actually want to talk about my trip to Japan. So if you're unfamiliar with my story, I went to Japan in October 2016 for a month, and I went to a city called Fukuoka where I went to school, Japanese language school, and I stayed at a host family with my host mom, Minori. And yeah, I think that's all you need to know for me to get started. So I wrote down a few questions that I'm going to get through, and hopefully everyone who's interested in Japan will be happy and can actually learn something. So the reason for me going to Japan, it was never really clear for me, and I always had difficulty answering this when people asked me, and like people ask me a lot. To be honest, like Japan has always fascinated me. I love Japanese culture and Asian culture in general. Even as a little kid, I remember really getting into that stuff. And when I was 15, I was at a phase where I really wanted to travel and where I really wanted to get out. 15 years old, well, 14 to 16 was a very tough time in my life, and I felt very caged, and all I wanted was to escape, and I think going to Japan was the best way to do that. So I started studying Japanese in 2015, and I studied a lot. I studied like 3 hours a day. I totally neglected school. And I told my mom I'm going to go to Japan when I'm 16. So 2016 was the year when I graduated the first school. And German school system is kind of weird, so I'm just gonna say first school, and I'm currently going into second school. And after first school, I took a gap year, and because of this feeling of being caged, I knew that I wanted to take a gap year. You can watch my video I did solely on my gap year, talking about it, why I did it, if I recommended, if you're a little confused now. And I knew that I wanted, first of all, to work and earn my own money and travel and go to Japan, experience this culture and be independent. I think that's what was most important for me. For the flight, I actually booked a very cheap flight business that I flew with, or well, not business, but like a website where you can compare flights. I don't remember the name of it exactly, and I'm not gonna recommend it. For me, it was all fine, even though the layover time was sometimes really short and I had to rush. But I read some really bad reviews on the internet, so I'm just not gonna recommend it because it really scared me. But yeah, my flight was pretty cheap, I would say. From Germany to Japan, I paid 800 in total. 800 euros, which is 400 to Japan and 400 back. But I also had a lot of layovers. I think I had to change planes twice. In total, I traveled like 24 hours on my way to Japan and on my way back. So that was kind of stressful, but it was cheap. So you should kind of like see and value what's more important to you, like whether it's cheap or you get to Japan and back fast. I was 16 years old. I just turned 16 actually, like that year, a few months before I went to Japan. And yes, I did travel alone. It was my first time traveling alone, and it was such a precious memory just traveling alone. I don't know if I will ever get to do that again, and seeing Japan through the eyes of a 16-year-old who had so many amazing things before her. That will be something that I will never forget in my entire life. Just seeing the Japan. I remember like one of the teachers from the school picking me up, and I remember looking out of the window of her car and just being like, this is not what I imagined it to be. And I was so tired because of the long flight, and I was so scared, but I was so happy that I'm finally there. And it was nothing like I imagined it. It was better and worse at the same time. I don't know, but it was awesome. Well, how was traveling alone? I think I have to make another separate video on it. On my way to Japan though, I met a very, very nice man who helped me get there safely, and we flew together, which is really cool. And he helped me find my way around the huge airports, and that was very nice. But yeah, the traveling alone is like, I think what made me become so much more adult and experienced, and so much more calm around like stressful situations too. In Japan, well, first of all, you probably need to know that I'm a very anxious and emotional person. I'm struggling with social anxiety, and when I first went to Japan, it was very hard for me to not lock myself in my 4 square feet room, not square feet, square meter room, and just be there and watch YouTube and Steam streams. I remember being there and being very afraid of going out alone. I didn't have internet access when I wasn't at my host family's, so I was very afraid of getting lost and not being able to call anyone or write anyone. So I rarely went out of my comfort zone. Like, I think it was after 2 weeks that I like finally found the courage to do stuff on my own, and that was like so amazing. These are one of my coolest experiences because they were so scary, but I just jumped out of my comfort zone. And like, even going alone to the grocery store was very scary for me because it was pretty far away from the school I was at, and the grocery store next to my like host family's house, I was afraid to go to. But I think just going outside alone, that was very difficult for me, but I did it and I'm really happy about it. Other difficulties were, well, I lost my money, but the thing is, I lost it at my host family's house, so I didn't believe that she would have stolen it, or like, but it wasn't there, and it was 100 euros. Japan, that's just not the case often, that people steal, or just the crime rates, and so no one really listened to me, and that was kind of difficult. And to be honest, if I would go to Japan now, I think I would not go into a host family again. I don't regret it. I think going to Japan was one of the most exciting and most valuable experiences that I have had in my entire life, and I will never ever forget this trip. And would I do it again? Yes, I definitely would do it again, just because it opened my eyes so much and it made me be able to be on my own, and that is just a very nice experience. And I made so many good friends there that I won't ever forget, and my time there was so precious. And yeah. Yes, I do recommend doing something like that. Do I recommend going to Japan on your own? Well, that really depends on what kind of person you are. If you really want to do it, and if you're really fierce about it, then do it. Go to Japan, but I would definitely recommend learning the language beforehand, and also to just not be afraid to really go out, and like, you are not gonna take a wrong turn, or even if you do, that's totally fine. Like, you will find your home. Just don't be scared. That's what I recommend. And like, if you want to travel, I think if you're so young, maybe start with something that's closer to you. But if you really want to go to Asia, if you really gonna want to go really far away, do it. Really do it. The Lying Buddha at the Nanzuin Temple near Fukuoka was so amazing. It was like such a humbling experience, but not only Nanzuin Temple, but also all the other temples that I visited near Fukuoka. And just, well, traveling on its own was such a humbling experience, and you just feel like you're not the most important thing in this world that you could think of. And there are so many bigger things around. And one of my favorite moments, like one of the favorite things I did in Japan, was just going around the neighborhoods and finding hidden places, and just honestly, not the huge tourist attractions, even though they were amazing, just like the Nanzuin Temple that I mentioned right now. But what I loved the most was with my dear friend that I met in Japan. We used to walk just where we felt like going, and we ended up in such beautiful places, and we ended up finding hidden temples and hidden gems that were so special and amazing. And just walking around the typical Asian or Japanese neighborhoods, it was so amazing. And we always did that when we met up. We just met and we walked around the neighborhoods, and it felt so like, these are kind of my favorite moments that I had in Japan. At the end of my trip, when I actually felt safe enough and brave enough to go out on my own, discovering like things like amazing tofu in the supermarket Sunny that was next to my house, or next to my host family's house there was this typical Japanese just street lined with little cute shops, and that was just so amazing as well. And yeah, all these little moments. Or when I went to a temple alone close to my host family's house, and there was a little family, and they smiled at me and waved at me, and just connecting with people and seeing all that beauty of Japan and traveling alone and making so many friends in Japan. Like, I just felt whole. At the end of my trip, I didn't want to leave, and I just felt so good in Japan. I wish this trip would have lasted longer. It's now more than a year past, but like, it's definitely an experience that I will keep in my heart forever, and the memories are still crystal clear to me, because just this mixture of fear and anxiety, but also excitement and happiness combined for 4 weeks, it just makes you remember this whole experience so much clearer. And yeah, I'm so thankful for this trip, and I'm definitely gonna return to Japan again. Thank you for watching. Bye!